All right, Monday, September 19th. Here's your entry screen, and then move right on Google Classroom. You're going to have your first formative assessment, 001. It's just a recap. There are just a few questions every couple days that are the main topics of what we're covering. It just kind of helps me measure your progress, helps you measure whether or not you're paying attention to the key items. These are not things you should have to study for at all. If you are at all involved in class, these things are going to stick out like a sore thumb. You're going to know exactly what the answers are. If you start to take these things and realize you don't, you need to figure out what's going on and what you're paying attention to in class. Here are no understand and do's. You can review these on your own. They're about the same as they were last week. Our plan, take that formative assessment. If you're not in class, it'll be excused, whether you're absent or for some other reason. Some of you, we got new kids in class, haven't been here, so we're not going to assess them on that. But otherwise, you need to have a assessment submitted, or it's going to be a zero. Not good. We're going to do about 10 minutes on collaborative guidelines. Collaboration is huge. It's one of the essential work skills of the modern new school era. We're going to give ourselves a chance to go out and find out what those collaboration guidelines might be to build a list we can use in class. And then I'll give you the remainder of time to work on that 001 brain unit, answering those questions to the best of your ability. And then if you want to go out and find more information to add to our collaborative slides on brains, you can. So good collaboration needs people too, and we want to be able to answer this or fill in a list of things that's true. I gave you some time in class without going over what collaboration is, so you get some experience collaborating. And I know by observing you, there were some frustrations, there were some neat things about it. Some people were better collaborators than others. Some actually interfered with the process, even intentionally, which in the future is going to be a big problem for them. But we want you to go out and look at what collaboration is and see if you can find some guidelines. See if other people have set up some rules for collaboration that we could use and modify them to meet our needs. And here's why. After we do this, we'll make sure it's really clear that of modern school, the 4 C's are kind of the what all the content, we'll learn as much content as we can, but with that content, we want to make sure we're doing these 4 things to make us effective people, future workers, and good citizens. And that's create, critically think, be an effective communicator and collaborator. And we are doing a lot of that in class already. We're going to focus on this collaboration thing. If you look over the top job skills from the World Economic Forum, there's a 2015 list and it's really similar, but you can see things are changing in the 2020 list. If you go back to 1990, 1980, 1990, this list is completely different. But we need you, if you look at these top 10, they're almost all either brain activities or the 4 C's. There's critical thinking, creativity in number 2 and 3, and problem solving, and cognition and negotiation. These are all, being effective communicators and collaborators as well. So those 4 C's pretty much, are embedded in all of these top 10 things. So that's probably where we want to spend a lot of our time. And that's how we're going to spend our Monday. Okay, Tuesday, September 20th. Here's your entry screen. Be sure to check your email. Here we are focused on the brain again. And you'll notice the new stuff over here is know how to sign into CK12. And we're going to need to talk about verifying information on the internet. So if you check your email, you'll see that there's results from your formative assessment yesterday. Look over what they are. If you made any errors, be sure to note what they are. Missed questions come up more often than correct questions to make sure that we're learning and progressing as we go. We're going to sign up for CK12. I'll explain why in a minute. And then we're going to look for some guidelines for verifying information. And then if there's any time left, we're going to be back on the brain unit, working to understand more about the brain. Reminder of the 4 C's, why we are doing this, why collaboration is so important. Again, your job skill list. You want to be prepared to, earn an income in the future, and this is what they say is gonna do that. Interesting tidbit: if you look at this chart, and I'll give you, you should maybe pause this and examine it for yourself to see if you can read it before I just go over it with you. But we've got, 2 bars for each one of these criteria, and the difference between employers in the dark and the students in the light is that students rate themselves significantly more capable or able to do stuff than their employer. So when they come out of college, they think they're hot stuff, and then when they get their jobs, their employers are like, hey, what's going on? Why can't they do these things? We don't want this to happen to you. We want to understand that we need to improve in these areas regardless of what we think about ourselves, so we'll spend time doing that. I love this. Right? When we talk about creativity, why is creativity so important? Okay, and if you examine this, I think it's clear. If we're going to face a new world and we're going to solve problems we don't have, the last thing we want you to do is remember what you've been told, because that's not solving the problem. You need to be thinkers. Simple things like this, yellowish wavelength of light that invigorates our brain. Asking ourselves, well, why yellow? What's so significant about yellow? A critical thinker would stop and ponder their environment and say, well, why yellow? And maybe make connections like, oh, what color's our sun? We have a yellow sun. Does yellow wavelengths from the sun affect our brain for that very reason? If it was a different colored sun, would it be a different wavelength that invigorates our brain? So just some critical thinking questions, by the way. Nice bright yellow image in the morning helps to get your brain going. Check your email. Follow the instructions to log into CK12. Check the shared resources. Check the assignments in the menu. We'll do this in class together, but we need you in this group, and that's where you're going to find your online digital textbook. And then the other question is, can we trust what we find on the internet? You've been gathering up things for the past week and a half. Now it's time to take a look at it and go, all right, can we trust what your classmates are bringing to us? How do we know, what is research-based, what is something that is legitimate, and what's just phony baloney? And we'll set up some guidelines as you look around on the internet, because people have been asking this question since the internet first came to be. Okay? And that is stuff you'll find on Classroom, more slides, collaborative slides answering this question, and that's what we do today. Okay, Wednesday the 21st, Formative Assessment number 2. You'll find it on Google Classroom. Now that you're done with your formative assessment, we want to get back to brain operations and verifying information online. And we're going to introduce Quizlet as well as CK12 to you. Recap accounts and forms. This will take some time to make sure you're all signed up for the accounts you need to be in case you've been absent. We're going to review guidelines for verifying information that we built yesterday, and then give you time to work on Brain Unit. You should be enrolled in Google Classroom. You should be enrolled in CK12. You should have filled out the student information form. You should be enrolled in Quizlet by now. Once we're verified that everyone's enrolled, we go back to this question: can we trust what we find on the internet? And we look at the information you gathered online, so people have some resources to reference when they examine websites for validity. The remainder of time you're going to get to spend on the nervous system Quizlet set. There's 14 terms there that you need to know. So you need to spend the remainder of the period using any of the Quizlet games, study techniques that are there to expose yourself to those 14 terms. If you feel comfortable with them, then move on to the 001 Brain Unit questions, and that's how we're going to spend our period. All right, September 22nd. Hey, curriculum nights tonight. There's your entry screen. Head to the About tab. Click on the Moodle link. We want to make sure that all of you are in Moodle. If you're new to school or don't remember what it is, we want to get you logged in. So that's another account you need to make sure you can get into. Here is our plan. Right? The Quizlet, the vocabulary, how to log into Moodle, brains and verifications, and we've got a couple brain science videos for you as well. So your formative assessment results should be emailed to you. You find them in your email. Make sure that you correct anything that is incorrect so you're learning. Make sure everybody's into all the accounts they need to be. You get some time to go over Quizlet. I want to go over some of those terms with you. Make sure you can pronounce them. makes them easier to learn when you can sound them out in your head. And then show you some brain lobes, kind of a brain helmet, and then the brain science videos. So here we go. Make sure, again, Google Classroom, CK12, Student Information Form, Quizlet, and now today, Moodle. Let's review the formative assessment. Make sure you're getting those questions correct. If not, again, there's a signal you're not paying attention, because when I look at overall class results, we're 80 to 90% of the people getting each of these questions right. So if you're missing them, you need to figure out a way to manage your brain and tune in. Okay? So take some time with Quizlet. Here's that brain hat. You'll see them in class. If you want your own on Google Classroom 001, I've added brain hat color file, and you can print it off with the directions and you can build your own hat. We've got 2 brain science videos on Moodle, ASAP, How Our Brains Work, and Dr. Seuss Sneetches. We're going to watch those in class. The first one's a little over 4 minutes. The next one's a little over 12 minutes. How Our Brains Work covers a book called Fast and Slow Thinking by Daniel Kahneman. You don't need to read the book unless you want to. Great book. But we don't have the 10 hours to read it. So we recap it in the video, and we talk about specifically slow thinking. And then Dr. Seuss Sneetches. You've probably heard of Sneetches before, or read the book, or had somebody read it to you. But there's a lot of brain science going on with Sneetches. And that's how we'll finish our period, and we'll talk about these videos tomorrow. All right, formative assessment number 3 on Friday, September 23rd. I hope you enjoyed curriculum night. If you made it, it's good to see you. If not, you'll get an email with a link to recap what went on. And here's our plan for the day. We're going to discuss Sneetches and then play Kahoot as well. So there's our plan. Formative assessment number 3, Sneetches discussion, Kahoot. In case I forgot, I posted a file there on 001. You can make your own brain hat. And there is a star-bellied Sneetch. We discuss, first off, who the Sneetches might be. And then we discuss what other things in our lives might the stars represent. And in our discussions, what we come to are a number of items that we tend to use to separate out whether we belong to a group or not belong to a group. And the big question is why. And it turns out that we're only conscious of about 10% of what goes on in our brain. There's 90% that happens in the background that we are never, ever aware of. So even though we think we're us and we're cool and we're in control, we are just riding along this machine. And one of the things that's hardwired in our brains is something psychologists call in-group, out-group behavior, that we will associate with groups, whether we kind of want to or not. It goes back to that fast and slow thinking in the ASAP video. Our fast-thinking brain quickly evaluates safe situations and dangerous situations, and the more similar we are to things, the safer we feel. And it can really, some of the silliest things can really affect our thinking. And unless we use our slow thinking skills to filter what goes on, we're pretty susceptible to being led along. And we look at the world today and wonder, how are there civil wars? Why does advertising work? All these sorts of things. Well, we know. And it ties back to this in-group, out-grouping thing. And Dr. Seuss hit it right on the head, whether he knew it or not. And once we cover that and make it clear, some of the examples where it works, is we're going to Kahoot. And it's a kind of a blind Kahoot, which means we haven't covered this information yet. I want you to be exposed to it. I want you to see what you already know, our previous knowledge. So we're going to play Kahoot, see how we do, have a little fun with it, and send you off to the end of your next full week of school.